Hello.
Hi, everyone.
We haven't decided who starts talking first ever.
Or even if we should be having an intro to these podcasts and what we're talking about. Here's the thing. Honestly, I think intros are such a waste of time. I don't think that they should happen on podcasts. I don't want to hear you tell me about what I clicked on the link that said what you're talking about. I don't need you to reiterate that to me before I start listening.
You know who does that for like 30 solid minutes?
Who?
Huberman. Huberman tells you what's going to be in his podcast, and it's like you think you're listening to the podcast, but he's just listing everything you're about to hear.
No.
It's hilarious. He's a genius. Don't get me wrong. He's amazing. But
that's a lot.
I got to skip in like 30 minutes. That's when he starts.
I also feel like, just for future reference, should we ever have any guests on this podcast, we will intro them before we start talking to them. It's maybe my least favorite thing when I'm a guest on podcasts and people are like, Manda, tell us about your business. And I'm like, where would
you set the stage, bitch?
Yeah, I'm like, it seems like that's a waste of this podcast's time for me to do. Yeah. Let's dive into the
Also, I just think it's not a courteous way to have a guest. Like, you should be setting the stage for them, not making them like toot their own horn. Like, sell your audience on the guest so people want to listen.
Right. That's also how I feel. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's a waste of if you're bringing me on as an expert, it's a waste of your audience's listening time to hear me intro my business when you could have done that easily. And then we could have just gotten to it, you know?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
for future.
I'm sure everyone's enjoying this.
Okay. Intro. Okay.
Let's get started. We're going to start out just quick chat about AI and how everyone's feeling about it, how we're feeling about it. And it's really making an explosion into the creative industry, and people are getting all the feels.
It's all over the place. I feel like it's even AI is on Meta search now for like Instagram, Facebook. Have you seen that?
I don't like that.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I honestly,
like, why would I search for anything here?
It doesn't.
I have Google. I have ChatGPT. Like, this is just for direct messages. You're confusing me.
Legitimately, when I go into my DMs and I'm looking for someone who's messaged me, and I will type in their actual handle, like I will know their handle, type it in, and then it will just come up with all these random people who might also sort of sound like Summer Sunflower or whatever. And I'm like, why aren't you just showing me Summer Sunflower? Why are we going through all of this? So that's
an unnecessary place, I think, for it. But
pretty annoying.
You recently had a friend ask you about something AI related, and then she was like, you and Alyssa love AI.
Yeah, 100%. One of my good friends she was, I don't know, she must have heard about this program that both you and I actually have been looking into. And she was like, hey, I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing. I don't even remember what the name of it is, but I know that you and Alyssa love AI. So how do you feel about da-da-da-da-da? And I was like, do we? Yes. Yes, we do. And
until it takes over our bodies and the world.
Yeah. We'll see. I was talking to Johnny about it the other day, and he was like, pop music's pretty atrocious. Why aren't we just using AI to come up with pop music? And I was like, they probably are, honestly. They probably are doing that. And he was like, well, no, but I'm saying we should be doing it. And so that might be our next business move.
Brian and I have talked about that with children's books, because I'm particular about the message that you're reading to your kids. Indeed. And there aren't that many good books out there.
Right.
And even like construction books, like Django's obsessed with construction, and I've like exhausted the construction book options out there. And I'm like, there's not that many out there. And everyone with boys needs construction books because they're obsessed with it for some reason. Mm-hmm. And I could just have AI write some construction, like simple books. And but that might make some writers out there angry.
I think you should do it. Do you want to know something really crazy? We were just having dinner with our realtors in Tucson, and the wife, it's a couple, and the wife said that she came up with the idea for Bob the Builder at the same time that whoever created Bob the Builder came up with it, and that they were in the same pitching like room together. They both pitched their ideas, and she had like merch. I don't remember what the name of hers was. I probably shouldn't say it even if I did know, but whatever it was, they basically pitched, and they were very similar ideas, but with different names. And she had like merch made, she had books drawn up for it, she had like all the creations done, and then they chose Bob the Builder over hers. And I was like, what?
Well, I hope she's self-published. I feel like there's so much
That's a good point
to be done with self-publishing now.
I know.
We can literally just sell on Amazon or sell, do your own marketing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think my brother and his girlfriend have been dabbling in that. But I think to that point, clearly Bob the Builder was a success. So I don't see why you shouldn't be doing.
I know. It's another venture. We were just talking about that. Yeah. So many ideas.
Many ideas. I did.
For instance, I need to find the time to post for this podcast before I start a children's book line.
Sure. I recently started using AI image generator for my design decks for my clients. And it has been a game changer for me because I'm not like letting AI come up with the ideas. I'm coming up with the idea, but I feel like half the time when I'm creating design decks, half of what takes me so damn long is just looking for the correct inspo photos to show what I'm trying to think of. And sometimes if I think of something that, not that, ideally it hasn't been done before, but maybe it has and no one's posted about it or their SEO is bad or whatever, it's really hard to find photos that represent exactly what you're thinking. So I started going to AI and actually just telling it exactly what I was imagining in my head and then letting it create the inspo for it or the image for it, I guess. And it's been incredible. Amazing.
That's a lot of syllables. It's an extra syllable.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love, as anyone who's familiar with Flowery Minds, they probably know I really like using AI generated images. I use Midjourney. It's slightly more complicated, so a lot of people don't use it, but it was out before the ChatGPT, so it's just what I use now. But people definitely have mixed feelings about it, don't they?
Yeah, I posted a reel the other day of me using AI to create this image for my design decks, and I had someone comment on it. It was honestly a bizarre comment. Like, I had to read it 3 times to even see. I was like, is this negative or positive? I can't, because she also ended it with a heart. And sometimes when people end a negative comment with a heart, I feel like they're just trying to fuck with me.
No, I think they're trying to I think they are, feeling like they want to say something and they know it's kind of aggressive and then they want to like lighten the load with a heart.
Correct.
But it just makes it funny.
It does.
It's like me right now with my landlord. I'm like, hello, I would like to break the lease. Please respond. Heart.
X
cares so much about you.
Yeah. So they, whoever this person was, wrote and said, this really makes me miss the days where wedding designers were just creative and just came up with ideas. Where's the creativity? And I asked her, because really I've been getting less and less shy about asking for clarity on comments lately. Really is all. I just want clarity. And I said, just to clarify, or just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, are you implying that because I came up with something in my head and then couldn't find a photo for it anywhere on the interwebs, so then I asked AI to create a rendering of it from my head so I could show it to my client, that implies that I am no longer being creative? Is that where we're getting at here?
Right. Then in this perspective, basically, you would be saying you're only creative if you're using pictures of other people's work.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. Like you want something different that's not other people's work, that like you have created only in your brain and it doesn't exist anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different tools out there to help us shortcut like to take our creativity and turn it into something.
Right.
And AI, in my opinion, is just one of those tools now.
100%. It's literally no different than me creating a rendering or sketching it. Or, I mean, it's just another tool to be able to like take my creativity and actually create visuals for it. So I feel like it's actually being more creative.
Well, there's all kinds of shortcuts too. Like just because it's a shortcut doesn't mean it's bad. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to do it the old fashioned way.
Right. I could also send letters instead of emails.
You use an iPhone and you're researching on Google. Like go to the library, which was also like a resource you could be using. Well, don't even go to the library.
Ride your
what
horse
you need to do is travel the
library.
world and find the answer at the source.
Exactly. Ride your
Google,
horse around the earth. Try to find the source for it.
Right. Like who's dictating what's okay to do based on like
efficiency?
The hardest way. Yeah. Right. Like the hardest way is best. Is that what we're saying here? I don't know. I don't agree with that. So, but there's obviously times that I wouldn't use AI. Like for instance, I have a personal page, like a professional personal page. That's just my work.
Right.
And I would never post an AI image on there as though it was part of my portfolio.
No.
Like that doesn't make sense. Okay. Or, that's mainly what I would not ever use it for, is pretending that it's something that it's not.
Yes. Yes, 100%. If you're using it as inspo or as marketing material or whatever, I think if you're trying to use it, because it's one thing to just create an AI image and then like use it as a background header photo or whatever. I think it's another thing to use an AI image and then say like, I created this.
Or to even just put it in your portfolio and maybe you're not saying I created this, but just by put where it is, it gets confusing. Mm-hmm. That's why on Flowering Minds on the homepage, on the sales page, I use AI, but I don't post anything that's like a design, a statement piece, because I don't want people to be like, oh, that's what I'm going to learn. But what I've loved about it is that originally, obviously, before this was a possibility, I was using just my own images, pictures of myself. But at the end of the day, what Flowering Minds became was like, I don't want it to just be about me. Like I want it to be about florists around the world, like thriving in business and learning business principles. It's not like design like Alyssa, that's not what it's about at all. And so I created a series of images that are like different people in different floral spaces, like studios, just because I love the feel of like different people having different, I don't know, in unique places in this community. So yeah, I have had some people reach out, maybe not a ton, maybe like 4. And I have hundreds of thousands of followers on the different platforms. So really it's a very tiny percentage. So that's nice. But I've had a few people be like, I'm not joining because you use AI. Or
so crazy.
Have you thought about how deceptive it is or how dangerous it is? I'm sorry, I can't stand when people say things are dangerous. It's such like a trendy thing. I'm like,
I don't think you know what danger is.
Have you seen the earth?
Exactly.
It's dangerous. It's fucking dangerous. Go take a walk and you'll get in like South America and you're going to get pounced by a jaguar.
Exactly.
The world is dangerous. So yeah, I don't care. Welcome to Earth.
Did you just say you'll get bounced by a jaguar?
No.
Oh, pounced upon. Right.
Your throat will get ripped open by a jaguar.
True that. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, just because I'm laughing.
There's nothing fluffy and like sweet and gentle about this earth.
100%.
It's like pretty powerful and strong and dangerous. So
you using AI imagery for marketing material is the least of anyone.
Whatever. If you want to say it's dangerous, like, I don't know, that's fine. Let it be dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's jump into the good stuff.
Yep. Let's talk about 4 changes you can make to your website to increase inquiries.
Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, number 1. Number 1, I think we both very much agree on the fact that most people need to increase their CTAs, aka call to actions on their websites. I think
buttons,
your buttons that say, contact me, inquire now, get in touch, or really just an actionable item that will guide people through your website, whether that's even like you've gotten to a certain point and then you say, read more about us, or you've gotten to a certain point and you say, read our testimonies, or, look through our portfolio or something. Call to actions are what guides people through the journey of your website and ultimately brings them to your inquiry page. And the easier you make it for people to find your inquiry page, obviously the more inquiries you will get. This is a very simple one.
Right. Because when people land on your website, it should never be something they're having to search for. Like, what should I do? They should never wonder that. Like, when they're getting on your website, they're not thinking, okay, I need to make sure I take action now. Right. Like, they don't care about you. They don't care about giving you anything. So you need to be constantly reminding them of the action they can be taking while they're trying to learn about you. And so I would go as far to say is like, there should always be a button somewhere on the page as they're scrolling, like definitely above the fold, like right when they land on your website without scrolling, there should be a place that tells them inquire here. And I think that's an important for creatives. I think that's a really important CTA because you want most of your CTAs to be the thing you want them to do.
Right.
Like, obviously you can guide them to look at your portfolio, but I wouldn't say like all over your website should be buttons to look at your portfolio. No. The main thing that you should have all over your website is inquire here, because that's what you want them to do.
Yes. Correct. Yeah.
And you never want them to scroll to the bottom of your page without feeling like you are asking them to take an action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want someone to get to the bottom of any of your pages and then be like, oh, okay, I'm ready even, and then have to like scroll back up and look for a button in order to contact you. Like that's, 101. I think you have to make sure that you have a good amount of CTAs on every single page.
Yeah, including blog posts. Yeah. Even in blog posts, you should have a CTA somewhere in the middle. And you can make it relate to the blog post. If you're talking about like summer designs I created in 2023, in the middle, it could say, if you liked this, you should go check out this event I did or whatever, and a link to go see the event. And then at the bottom, it can be like, see more weddings like this, or obviously I'm talking to wedding industry people, but whatever, see more creations like this and inquire here for a quote or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there should always be some kind of journey that you're taking them on, and that not that they have to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
They're just being told. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Number 2.
You go.
All right. So number 2 is reduce the friction on your inquiry form. And really what we're getting at here is, man, your inquiry form needs to be simple. Like, again, and this goes back to what we were just saying about, we don't want to make customers of any kind feel like they're having to work to acquire our services. We want to make it as easy for people as possible. So when someone gets to your inquiry form, in my opinion, you should have no more than like 8 questions on there. Obviously, you need maybe like base information, but other than that, don't ask anything, I think, extra, like, why do you and your person like each other? Or tell me 3 things about your personality. Whatever it is, those things can all be gathered on like a post-inquiry questionnaire, in my opinion, or a discovery call or something like that. You want to make it as easy for people to get in touch with you as possible. So you have to reduce all friction and make it a very seamless process from the time they get to your inquiry form. They should be able to, like, in 20 seconds, shoot off an inquiry.
Right. I've seen people put things like, have you hired a photographer? If so, who? Like, don't ask stuff like that. You just want to get them in your inbox. You want their contact information so you can continue the conversation. And when we say friction, what we mean is reducing the friction. You can almost imagine, like, of course, I'm going to a 5-year-old boy example because of my son, but he could ask for a slip and slide. And if I put down sandpaper instead of some kind of plastic, like he's not going to get to the end of the slip and slide. He's literally just going to fall flat and like leave. But if it's some like slippery plastic with water, he's going to shoot to the end. The point is friction on your website are like, it's like confusion, lack of clarity, too long, too wordy, big paragraphs of things that people had like, sometimes I do website audits and I will literally just be like, I can't even read this paragraph.
100%.
That's enough. That's enough of an audit. Like yes. I just can't even, I don't even want to read it. So I know a potential client doesn't want to read this. So all of these things that like stop people from getting to the end goal is considered friction. And so you can have it all over your website. You can reduce friction all over your website, but specifically today for inquiries, we are talking about the inquiry page. So anything that can be confusing, anything that can be difficult to follow through with, that's all friction that you need to get rid of.
Yeah. And that's what I always say too, is like, make sure that your customer doesn't feel like they're working on any part of your website. And to your point, if I feel like I'm having to read a novel, or if I feel like I'm having to decipher what your services are, if I feel like I'm having to like...
or where you are.
Yeah. Yes.
Or like research, where are you?
Yes, totally. Yes, exactly. If I feel like I'm having to explain my personality and what I see for my wedding day flowers or whatever, that's all called homework, essentially. That's making me work to be able to just reach out to you. And that's, again, something that you can do in the post-inquiry process for sure, but you're drastically reducing your chances of someone even reaching out to you in the first place when you have, sandpaper-like items on your website and inquiry form.
Yeah. So keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Do you ask for guest count?
I don't think I do ask for guest count. I might, only because there's certain items that like Honeybook will, because I use Honeybook for my inquiries and like CRM system. And there's certain questions that they will auto include so that it can auto populate into your contracts or whatever. So my inquiry form, I want to say my inquiry form's probably 8 questions. And it's like your name, your fiance's name, your date, location if you have one, budget, and then maybe guest count. I don't even know if that's on there now that I think about it. And
that's
then
pretty much
it
what
says
mine
like,
is too.
Yeah, anything else you want to tell us. And that's pretty much it. And that's all I really need to know. I mean, initially.
Yeah. I do, when I was doing a floral for events, I did have an area those are all my sections, but I had an area at the end where I just had a ton of different floral items, like ceremony arch, aisle meadow, whatever, that they could check, but it wasn't required. It was like, what items do you imagine at your wedding? Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm not making them give me a list or write anything, but they can check mark anything they're interested in. And I mean, I personally did that because I generally would create an estimate before we talked. So I was just like trying to get the best idea of their expectations without a full conversation. But whatever you do, don't require responses about things you really don't need to know about.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Let people leave it blank. All right. So number 3 is creating a strong first impression. Again, this one seems pretty simple, but I think everyone here would be pretty surprised as to how many website audits we do where I go to someone's homepage and either like the header photo they're using is not like a stunning eye-catching photo, or there is no tagline, or there is nothing even telling me where they're located, or there's nothing that's telling me what makes them different or what they specialize in, or the website design that they're using is completely not even functional. Like, I think your homepage, like the place that people obviously land on when they go to your website, should be eye-catching, and it should be attention-grabbing right off the bat. It doesn't only have to come through I think that this really applies to the photos you use. I think probably maybe even more than you do, but I think there's actually a lot of people in the luxury space, a lot of photographers, a lot of planners who only have portfolio on their front page. Like, they have zero information. They just have photos of like their top 6 biggest jobs and they're these like stunning photos of stunning locations, to me, like that's good enough. I go there and even though everything else is simple, I can clearly see that you've worked in Italy and Mallorca and Paris and New York or whatever. And the photos are so stunning that it makes me want to look for more or contact you. So I even think that's good enough. But basically you're putting your best foot forward, right? On your homepage.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that obviously that depends on your experience and what your portfolio is. As creatives, we all have some kind of portfolio that's visual, and that can really benefit us, but it can also hurt us if you're new. So if you're newer, I would say even just one stunning photo, you can even just plan something like a styled shoot for marketing for that one amazing styled photo. And then, when you're newer, I do think a little bit of messaging is good, and a headline as to where you are and what you do, and obviously a call to action. But I totally agree. If you have a good enough portfolio where you can provide a collection of images that are just like, why would I not hire you?
Yes.
Like that's enough. Visuals can be enough.
Yeah.
And I would just say also that if you do this and you grab attention right when someone lands on your website, you actually increase your SEO, because when people land on your website, if they ever click the back button from there, it hurts your SEO and you're going to be seen less in search engine searches. So like the minute you don't grab attention and someone clicks that back button, Google is literally like caching that away and it hurts you. So you need to get them to click through one time, even if they don't inquire.
Yep.
If you can get them to click through one time out of curiosity to see something, to see more, whatever it is, then you'll also rank higher in SEO searches. So what people see right when they land on your website is huge.
Yeah. And I would even say, taking this further into like not the wedding industry, if you were to look at Flowering Minds or May & Co Monthly, the photo that I use on my cover image for May & Co Monthly, like the first photo you come to, what I always try to look at is I try to make sure that photo like encapsulates everything about what I'm selling. So for me on May & Co Monthly, I'm going to use a photo where I look professional, but I also look down to earth and I look welcoming and I look happy because that is my personality. That's who you're going to learn from. So I want it to feel really real. If I were to use a photo of like, I don't know, me on a wedding day, right? If I were to use a photo of me on a wedding day, to me, that wouldn't be actually selling what May & Co Monthly is. That because you're not walking around with me on wedding days and it would cause confusion. Whereas a photo of me like sitting at a desk teaching or smiling or talking to the camera or talking to my iPhone or however I record, all of those things, including like the colors and the aesthetic of it, is what like encapsulates my business. And so ideally, even if I just had a photo, even if I didn't have words next to it, whatever photo you use, whatever photos you use as your homepage should tell the story of your brand and your business. Like someone should be able to look at those photos and kind of know what you do and why you do it and where you do it, and still, to your point, want to move forward through your website.
Right. Completely agree. And for Flowering Minds, I need to do a branded shoot because I haven't done that in a while. But right now it's, what I try to express on that homepage is just that it's not an old school floral school. It's like more contemporary. It's more based on like a contemporary vision of what a florist could be. And so I'm really avoiding moody things. I don't know, just outdated styles, outdated floral designs, lots of color, lots of variety, because I want same thing. Like I want to attract florists who understand like this is not me teaching you how to put 6 or a dozen red roses into a bunch of greenery. Like it's going to be off the beaten path. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Nailed it. Okay. And then number 4, which I think is, it's equally as important as the previous 3, is to simplify your navigation. And I think this one gets overlooked so often because as we're creating a website, oftentimes we don't really put a lot of thought into our nav bar. But I think one, simplifying it so that we're making things as easy for people to get through your website as possible and to get to your contact form. So the least amount of options you can have on your nav bar, in my opinion, the better. So simplifying that, which means you don't need a blog and a portfolio. Combine those. You don't need to have a button that says home. Your logo should take you back to your homepage, right?
Exactly.
And then I think your contact, something I've been seeing, I don't know, there's got to be some kind of sales coach out there who started telling people that in order to create exclusivity, they should start using the term apply with us, apply now, whatever. And to me, this goes all the way back to don't make your potential client feel like they're having to work to get your attention or to work with you.
Right.
And for planners specifically, especially, and I think this really honestly applies to pretty much any profession I can think of, telling people like apply to work with us, Autumn, in my mind, if I was a consumer and I needed a wedding planner and it said like apply to work with us, I'd be like, that doesn't really feel that great to me. you know?
I mean, I think it's like a false way to create scarcity.
Exactly.
To be like, I don't need to give it to you. I don't really like that method. I understand what they're doing. They're like, want to create this feeling of exclusivity and scarcity, but I don't think it actually would increase your sales conversions, because I think anyone who applies is not necessarily a great buyer. I think they're like, there's no sense of commitment in that. Apply now. It's like, I think I'll just fill out the form, whatever. I don't really care. Like, I might as well just fill it out. But I don't think there's any excitement or commitment around that. Whereas inquire now, it's like you want someone to inquire if they want to buy from you.
Correct.
Not like, for sure, like we could very possibly work together. Like let's do this, you know?
Yes.
Not just like, oh, it's the first of many steps. Just start by applying and we'll go from there. Like, I want to book these people as quickly as possible while they're excited and riding that emotional wave of like reaching out to people.
Right. I also feel like you could be potentially setting yourself up, and I'm not trying to harp on the apply idea.
But we are.
Because I really don't think you should be using it, because I think you're also setting yourself up for failure. If that person does apply and say they're out of your, desired minimum budget, or your styles don't align, now you're basically making them feel like you've rejected their application, as opposed to they reached out and then you say like, we're not a good fit. Instead, we're not available. Right. Or we're not available or whatever. Instead, they applied to work with you and you're like, application rejected, which really is not a good look for any business also.
Doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, and actually, and Alyssa said this earlier, but it can cause confusion. You have to also consider that a lot of the people that are on your website, English might not be their first language, or even age-wise. Like if my mom was looking for a wedding planner and she saw apply
like,
now,
I'm not trying to work here.
Exactly. She'd be like, wait, why is it telling me to apply? Like you have to keep those things in mind too. And I think so often, again, there's like all these business coaches and such out there who tell you to use these fancy terms for this and that. Just keep it simple. Contact us now. You don't need to get fancy with it.
Or inquire here.
Mm-hmm.
I had an inquire button, and then there was a drop down that was like wedding inquiries or say hello. Mm-hmm. And that way people, if someone wanted to just send in a whatever inquiry, they could.
Right.
But I think this also goes a step further from apply now, because there's a lot of people, creatives are like, ooh, I'm going to come up with these fun services. I'm going to name it like, unlock the flower box, or like whatever. I don't know what that is. But say you're like, a flower box weekly, whatever. And it's like a subscription program. And then you put that in your menu, like unlock the flower box.
Totally.
I don't know where this came. And people are like, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm not going to click on it. So what you would say instead is flower subscriptions or weekly flowers, something so clear. If you really want it to be cute after that, even then I wouldn't really even encourage it, but definitely not on the navigation.
100%. I so agree. You also have to remember that when someone comes to your website, assume that they don't know who you are. Assume that they don't know what you sell. Assume that they don't know what sets you apart. You know, and you live in it every single day and you post about it every single day. So to you, it seems like this is a no-brainer. Obviously, I'm a wedding florist. But assume that anyone who comes to your website has no freaking idea what you do or how you do it or why you do it or where you do it. And you want to make it as easy as possible on them. So when they go to your website, you don't want them to look at buttons that say book now or unlock the flower box because they will be confused. And the more confused a person is, the more they are inclined to just be like, I'm just going to go find someone else that I'm not confused with.
Exactly. Yeah. You really have to think from the perspective of someone who knows nothing about your business. And actually, I'm training someone right now to help me do some Pinterest. And recently she wrote a title that was like, Flowering Minds, build a thriving 6-figure business. But I was like, and it's something you have to learn. But I was like, well, what's Flowering Minds?
Right. Who's going to build the 6-figure business?
No one would know that. What business? For what? Who is it for? Like, build what business? Like a roofing company or like... roofing is really on my mind. We brought it up the last podcast too. Damn hail damage.
Flowering Minds, the ultimate roofing business.
Yeah, but the point is, I was like, okay, so this is a learning moment. Like, what is this? She's like, yeah, you have a good point. There's no information here. Yep. There's no real information here for people who don't know.
Yes.
And that's the whole point, is to reach people who don't know who you are.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So keep it simple.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Look through your website and see, make sure everything is very clear. Make sure to get rid of any clutter. Make sure to simplify and make it really easy for people to find your contact button, to find your inquiry form, simplify your inquiry form. I think really at the end of the day, simplify it.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Clarify, simplify.
Yes. Clarify and simplify, and make sure you're looking at your website as if you are just a completely new person who has no clue what your business is, and literally read through every piece of your website that way. And I guarantee you'll find 10 things you want to adjust. I still find things I want to adjust. And that's the only way I look at my website.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are 4 big suggestions for website changes to increase inquiries. Let's wrap it up with...
Let's talk about fashion trends that are grossing us out.
Okay. We're going to wrap it up with talking about fashion trends that are sicking us out.
Okay. Have you seen how like the 90s is coming back?
I feel like they've been trying to bring back the 90s for a while.
I feel like it's coming back hard all of a sudden. And also, have you seen that if you wear ankle socks, you're old?
Oh, yeah, of course I've seen that. I think it's garbage. They don't even have which generation is it? Gen Z, Gen 12, Gen 14?
I don't even know people that age.
8. I don't either, but I watched like an interview.
Maybe our assistant.
What's that?
Our assistant that we both.
Oh yeah, totally.
She doesn't count.
I was watching an interview and someone was like, "Why?" And they didn't have a reason. They were like, "Because it's gross." And I was like, "That's not good enough for me."
I don't need warm ankles while I work out. It's 100 degrees here.
I don't wear socks when I work out, so.
You don't? Oh, because you work out at home.
Yeah, and I mean, I wear socks if I'm on the Peloton because I have to with the shoes, but.
Yeah.
Did you say it's better for your feet to wear socks or not wear socks?
No, to not wear shoes when you're working out.
Yes, correct.
To activate those glutes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've been really on a glute kick lately. Not that I'm not always, but basically my life goal is to just have a butt that's bigger than my current one. And I've been calling it lately glute demolishing. So I've just been walking around the house like, it's glute demolisher day. And Johnny's like, that sounds terrible. I hate that. I don't want any part in it. I'm like, let's go demolish our glute. I keep referring to it as one. It's been a good time around here.
I like that. I'm going to demolish my glutes today. It's funny because this morning I told you, instead of having another baby, I think I'm just going to work on my buns.
Yes. Yeah. Love that. I stand by that. Those are words to live by.
Yeah. I've been hanging out with you too much.
I know. I'm like, no more babies, just big buns. I was going to say, have you seen the new, you probably haven't, the movie on Amazon Prime, The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway?
No.
It's on a book, or it's based on a book or whatever. I had the book in my Kindle. I was going to read it. And then I saw it came out on Amazon Prime. And I was like, no, I can't watch it. I have to read it first. And then I was like, there's no way I'm going to read this first. Let's just watch the movie. Anyway, the male character in it, he's supposed to be like a young-ish pop star, I think like in his early 20s. And the apparel for him, his attire throughout the whole movie is so atrocious that I just couldn't buy into it because I was like, he looks ridiculous. He looks like a fool.
Was it like a lot of ironic?
It was like very like baggy pants that are cut off at the ankle and cardigans. Like a baseball cap, but not even like a sexy baseball cap.
Men wear cardigans.
No, a cardigan and like a flat bill baseball cap and baggy pants that cut off at your ankles that look like you cut them off at your ankles. And then like Converse. I'm like, what is this style? It's very Justin Bieber-esque. And I tell you what, it made me not find him very attractive at all. So I just couldn't really buy the movie.
I like mountain men.
Exactly. I want you to look
just be a mountain man.
Like strong and homeless, but also smell like you shower daily.
Strong and homeless is the look that you love.
I like
just because of the beard, the facial hair,
and then like
mountain men have facial hair too. You don't have to be homeless.
That's good. Let's just stick with mountain men instead of homeless. Actually, strike homeless from the record. Only mountain men. But I don't need a mountain. I don't need Johnny to shower every day. I want him to look like a mountain man.
Smell, a little grunge.
Yeah, but I want him to smell good because I really like good smell.
I don't want Brian to smell like shower gel. I'd rather you smell like a little musty.
Yeah, sure. I'll take a little must, but also I really like smells. So I'll take a good smell.
Okay, we're not talking about fashion we hate. We're just talking about men we love.
Basically, Johnny is my dream man. So just sweet. He smells really good, and he looks like he works in the mountains.
Yeah, Brian's kind of my dream man too. Not kind of, he is. It's just like I've never thought of it that way, but I like how he has pectoral muscles and big arms, and he's in his 40s. I'm like, keep it up. Keep it up.
What I think is interesting about Brian is that he wears a black t-shirt 24/7. I've never seen him in anything other than that.
It's a Steve Jobs move. He doesn't own anything else.
That's so crazy to me.
We went to a funeral yesterday and he wore a black t-shirt and black jeans.
Oh my God. That's wild.
Granted, it wasn't like there were a lot of people at the funeral not dressed up. So it wasn't like inappropriate. But the point is like, it's all he wears.
That's what he wears. Yeah. I really like it. I think it's a really interesting, like unique factor about him that I find endearing.
Yeah, he doesn't want to waste time thinking about clothes because he doesn't care. But I'm glad that that's what he settled on. Like he could have settled on like
a lot worse
something
Hawaiian
else that I hated.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, this is fine. I don't even think about it. So
I'll take it.
And a brown belt.
Yeah, that's odd. Timeless, really.
Yeah. It allows for brown shoes. So.
Yes. All right. Well, this has been fun. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.